My golden child sister mocked my handmade scrapbook gift in front of everyone. She hasn't received a single gift from me since. My sister Wendy has always been the golden child. She got better grades, had more friends, dated the right people, and landed a high-paying job straight out of college. I struggled through school, worked retail for years, and only recently started a decent career in my late 20s. Our parents never let me forget how different our paths were. When Wendy got engaged to her boyfriend of 4 years, she made sure the wedding was the biggest event our family had ever seen. She spent over $50,000 on everything: designer dress, 5-course meal, live band, destination venue. The whole thing screamed, "Look how successful I am." I was happy for her even though I couldn't relate. I was invited as a bridesmaid, which meant I had to buy a $300 dress, pay for travel, take time off work, and still bring a gift. I was barely making rent at the time. I couldn't afford anything on her registry because the cheapest item was a $200 wine decanter. Instead, I made her something. I spent weeks creating a scrapbook of our entire lives together. I included photos from childhood, ticket stubs from concerts we went to as teenagers, notes we passed in school, and letters she wrote me from summer camp. I wrote personal messages on every page about what each memory meant to me. I thought it was beautiful and meaningful. I thought she'd appreciate the time and love I put into it. I was wrong. Wendy opened gifts at the reception, which I thought was tacky, but she insisted on it. She wanted everyone to see what she received. She opened crystal vases and expensive cookware and envelopes full of cash. People clapped after every gift. Then she got to mine. She unwrapped the scrapbook and flipped through a few pages with a confused look on her face. She held it up and asked if this was it. I said yes, and explained what it was. She laughed. Not a small chuckle, but a loud laugh that made people turn and look. She said, "Oh honey, you really shouldn't bother anymore if you can't afford a decent gift." She tossed the scrapbook onto a pile with the wrapping paper and moved on to the next present. People around me went quiet. A few gave me pitying looks. My mother pretended not to hear. I sat there for the rest of the reception feeling like the poorest person in the room. I didn't cry because I refused to give Wendy that satisfaction. I drove home that night and decided my sister would never receive another gift from me as long as I lived. Wendy didn't notice at first. Her birthday came 3 months later and I didn't send anything. She texted asking if I forgot. I said no. She asked where her gift was. I said I didn't get her one because I couldn't afford a decent gift, so I didn't bother. She sent back a laughing emoji and said I was being petty. I didn't respond. Christmas came and I gave gifts to my parents and my niece, but nothing for Wendy. She opened everyone else's presents and then looked at me expecting something. I smiled and said nothing. She asked if she was getting anything. I said no. She asked why. I said the same thing again. I couldn't afford a decent gift, so I didn't bother. She rolled her eyes and said I needed to get over myself. I said I was over it and so was my gift giving. This went on for 3 years. Every birthday, every Christmas, every occasion, Wendy got nothing from me. At first she acted like she didn't care. Then she started making comments about how rude I was. Then she complained to our parents. My mother told me I was being childish. I told her Wendy publicly humiliated me on her wedding day, and I was simply respecting her wishes. She didn't want gifts I couldn't afford, so she wasn't getting any gifts at all. Last year Wendy had a baby. The whole family threw her a big shower. I showed up with nothing. Wendy pulled me aside and asked if I seriously wasn't going to give her child a gift. I asked if she wanted a handmade card because that was all I could afford. She said that wasn't funny. I said I wasn't joking. I reminded her of exactly what she said at her wedding. I told her those words lived in my head rent-free, and I thought about them every time a gift-giving occasion came around. I said she taught me that my thoughtful gifts weren't good enough, so I stopped giving them. She said that was years ago and she was just joking. I said the joke wasn't funny then, and it still wasn't funny now. Her baby got nothing from me. My niece from my brother's side gets generous gifts every year. Wendy notices. She's asked me multiple times why I treat her daughter differently. I tell her the same thing every time. I can't afford decent gifts for her family. She should stop hoping. Those were her words. I'm just living by them. My mother says I'm punishing an innocent child. I say I'm protecting myself from being mocked again. Wendy still hasn't apologized. Until she does, her mailbox stays empty. The scrapbook I made her ended up in a donation bin 6 months after her wedding. My brother's wife found it at a thrift store and told me. I didn't even react. It confirmed everything I needed to know about how much my effort meant to Wendy. She can buy her own memories now.